like,
100%.
am
Live
I
a
too
stress-free
close?
life. Trust me. It's the only way to be.
I feel
Could you turn your phone on your side? Would that be possible for you?
better.
Yes, I really appreciate it. Just in case we ever want to repurpose the content and whatever, maybe put on YouTube or whatnot.
Okay.
You know, the side view is usually better for that kind of stuff. And I'll send it to you when we're done here, so you'll have it.
Amazing.
All right.
Hi, everybody.
My gosh, Natalie, you are stressed. Don't. Oh, you're. Okay, it's the Wednesday.
Hi, Curly Rose.
Okay.
Oh, now it's going to be the whole video like this. What is he saying? Hi, Keita.
Feel free to drop something here. Well, you know, drop a comment if you want. Tell us how you're doing. Today, you know, we are going to be talking a little bit about spirituality from our different perspectives, hoping to kind of enrich you guys a little bit with the discussion. Hello, Keita. How are you? We're happy to have you. Thank you for joining us. Okay.
Yes. What's up?
So how are you doing today? How are you hopping in? How's the morning treated you?
Oh, my goodness. I feel amazing. I feel so abundant. I feel so blessed. I feel so wise. I feel so present, so gracious. Like, okay. Yes, baby. Because let me tell you,
today's the day for you.
2022 put her hands and her feet on me. Do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I do.
She put her hands and her feet on my neck and all other places. So 23 came in like, we got you, babe. You in recovery. We got you. So I feel that, you know, very much. I feel my ancestors walking with me. I feel very much in alignment. So I feel good today, and I'm blessed to be here. Thank you for having me. How are you feeling?
Honestly, I am. It's like I'm a little too excited because my birthday is Sunday.
Ooh.
So I'm very excited about that. I'm like, but also I'm not trying to work my birthday weekend. So I've been trying to finish all my work like by Thursday so I could be done and then have fun with like friends and family and everything. Mm-hmm. So I am not enjoying the speed at which I'm working, but honestly, it's better to have a lot to do than nothing. This has been a very abundant week for me as well. But my birthday week is always like a good week for me. Like I tell you, it's so funny how it started. When I was younger, I don't even know why I did this. I just like one day I just felt the need to do it. I think I just, you know, being around my mother's baji, which is her spiritual workroom, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this one day. And hey, Sunny, good afternoon to you too. So there's a spirit that walks with me, La Sirene. And what I did is I basically did this petition with her that year. I think I was like 11 or 12. And, you know, she's a spirit of the ocean and whatnot. And I put out a cup of water, candle. It was a very simple kind of thing, super simple. And then the next day, first thing I did is I drank that water and everything. For my birthday, I lit her candles and everything. And she's always walked with me pretty hard. And I tell you, since I have been like 11 or 12, every single birthday week has been phenomenal. I don't know what the heck happened. I don't know what on earth guided me to do that at like age 11, like so many years ago. You don't even know. This more than so many years ago. But that one thing I did, I tell you, my birthday weeks are always really good for me financially. So sometimes just do it, you know. You feel that energy push you in a direction, just listen to it, guys. Every now and then something good happens.
She was waiting for you to come closer. She's like, all right, finally, let me bless you now. So
and it's just, and I wasn't too knowledgeable about spiritual like stuff at the time because like it was around, you know, my mom was always practiced. There were ceremonies at the house and stuff. I had seen it. She worked for people. But at 11 and that age, it's kind of hard to conceptualize spirituality, you know? It's just like a thing that happens at your house. You know, you don't even really understand the meaning of behind a lot of what you're doing and stuff. You're just kind of following your leaders, following what your parents or, you know, family or whoever is telling you. So so it was definitely a kind of like, that little story. And it popped up to me like 2 days ago. I actually forgot I even did that up until a few days ago. And that it just kind of ties into what we're talking about this week.
Yeah, I love that for you. Hi, Candace. And, you know, so you're an Aquarius, that means. And so this is your season to be in the flow. But understanding, so I practice, maybe I shouldn't say that. I use tarot as a part of my practice. And so in the tarot, the star card represents Aquarius. And we know that prior to what we consider to be technology, the elders consider spirituality to be the real technology, like that Wi-Fi from your physical body to God. And so it makes sense that you would connect in that way on your birthday, and then spirit would keep the current flowing for you. I love that.
This is my season. And it's like, and it's honest. And some people, when they ask about this kind of things, at its core, I'm really just listening to what I feel guided to do. Like 100% just feel, if I feel guided to do something, my mom is always, like growing up, I was always encouraged to like, okay, find out. Let's see what happens. You know, like jump into it. Let's see where it goes, you know? And
I love that.
That's how I'm kind of, do you hear my dog?
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
1 second.
Hi, everybody. There's so many of y'all I can't see. But hi. Hi, Candace. Oh, Wanjidu, you're here too. Hi, everybody. How y'all feeling? Always 100%. I mean, 100% is hard all the time, but like, show up, yeah. Hey, girl, how you feeling?
Yeah. All right, guys, forgive my little protector. The mailman was here, and you know, he's got to make sure I'm safe from all that mail.
Oh, it's 12:12. Make a wish. Hold on, it's 12:12. Mm-hmm.
So, you know, just getting into that little background and whatnot, you were saying about, oh, wow, your birthday week too. Look at you. Look, man, do it. I don't know. When it comes to the time that you're born, like all the things that have to come together to bring you, whoever you are, into this world, bring me into this world and all that, all the things that have to align to make sure that that moment goes well, use it. You know?
Yeah, this is crazy.
You know, it has a bit of power in it, and if you want to tap into that, I encourage it. That birthday story, literally by accident, man. Like,
but you know that nothing is by accident. It's
you know, accident as in I didn't realize what I was doing when I did it.
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't even my intention to do it. I think it was just like me and my obedience to spirit is what ended up giving me this kind of reward. I was just following what I thought I could be doing, what I thought I should be doing, and then I ended up getting something in return. I wasn't even trying to request that at the time.
Yeah, I love that.
Okay. So let's get started on you. You know, you are talking about your practice and, you know, what you incorporate into it. So just how did you end up kind of getting to this point in your path, or even finding your path in the first place?
Oh my God. So how much time we got?
We got some time. We got some time, actually. We got some time. We got some time.
Oh my goodness. So, I mean, what I'll say is this. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Che Alexander. I am a hoodoo. I am a practitioner of 21 divisions of several different traditions. And I do a lot of things. I be doing the most, right? I teach astrology. I help people to understand their natal charts. I do tarot divination. I am a psychic medium, so I can connect with the departed. And so I help to connect other people with their departed loved ones through a series of different things, consultations and spiritual gatherings with other mediums. I do a lot. And so this path came to me, you know, the chosen are the chosen. And I've always lived a very supernatural life. Mm-hmm. I'll give you the abridged version. You know, I'm a child of the 80s in New York City. Both of my parents were addicts. I grew up in foster care. And because of that, I think Spirit chose me, right? Spirit said, like, she needs some hands and some eyes on her. The folks down there don't really have it together, and so we're going to guide her. Yeah. And so since I was young, you know, I'd be walking in the street and psychics would stop me, like, I have a message for you. Or, you know, I would have premonitions of things and they would come true. And there were a series of very specific events that took place, but even in my foster family, I was exposed to death very early. And so my relationship with Spirit became very strong because all the people that I knew in life had crossed over. And so there were real conversations to be had, right? From the time that I was, I'm going to say 7 to about 15, it's like 8 years, I probably attended 15, 20 funerals, and I was in the front row. Like, that was my family, you know? So that my relationship with death was forged very early. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. You know, that makes a lot of sense. You know, some people, sometimes, you know, part of our consultations or whatnot, people will come and they'll ask you, and I'm sure they've asked you, like, how do I know what I'm supposed to do with my spirituality? You know, like, how do I decide how I'm supposed to use these gifts and whatnot? But usually and some people hate hearing this answer from me, but I'm just like, yeah, you already know answer I'm about to give. You already hearing it. Yeah, but some people hate to hear it, but it's like, I can't tell you. I cannot answer that question for you. Mm-hmm. That question is probably going to be answered because of who you already are and the path you're taking in life. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. And some things are just for you. You can't deny them, right? So, mm-hmm. How do I say this? I don't know. Spirit just came to me, right? And, like, just refused to take their hands off of me. And I would say the defining moment, because there were several, right? My brother passed away. My brother was killed in a car accident. And at the moment of his death, I transported into the accident, right? So I was, in my waking body, I was dreaming. I thought I was dreaming. But I astral projected into his death. Same time, like, I woke up 2:25 in the morning. It probably was 2:22 in the morning. Feeling very hazy and dazed and confused. And in the dream, I had been driving a car. This man emerged from 2 parked vehicles. I tried to hit the brake. I couldn't. Before I made impact, I woke up, right? Feeling very foggy. The very next day, I got a message from a family friend saying that my brother was missing. And then we went down this rabbit hole. He was hit by a car. He died at 2:22 on the scene. The vehicle's brakes had given out, and that's how he died, right? And so it was like my mediumship was super activated. And then several months after that, I had suffered a miscarriage, but I didn't know, right? And so I'm walking down the street, and I thought it was another medical problem. And I'm walking down the street, and a woman says, I have a message for you. You just lost a boy last week, right? And I was like, okay, Spirit, you're being very loud about these messages, how you're communicating them, like how you want me in community with people who receive messages.
Yeah.
So then I had to start diving down the rabbit hole.
So you can run, but you can't hide, Jay.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I started, I didn't know what that was. Now, my background is Puerto Rican and Bahamian, right? But I was adopted, so I didn't grow up in my biological family. I had 0 biological ties. I knew no one except for my mother, but she had her own issues, right? So we were out of contact. But because of the family I had been integrated with and the neighborhood and community I was in, I had very close access to Santeria. And so that's where I started. So I walked into the Botanica. I said, something's going on, y'all. Give me something. I need a candle, a bath, a prayer. And I started to walk that path. And that opened up my understanding of spirituality, how many paths and traditions there are, how you could cross your paths, and so much. But I started with what I had access to, what I was familiar with.
Yeah. And that definitely makes sense. That makes sense. Do you now that you're, well, that's where you started, but you're at the point where you've been exposed and you've been able to practice different things. So what was that point when you arrived at the crossroads and decided to make a turn?
Oh, girl. Again, spirit having their foot on my neck. I found it to be really interesting too, because I was still such a baby in the traditions and understanding like how spirit communicates, and also understanding that people receive spirit differently, right? So things that I had been told were not okay or were not possible, I was experiencing, and I'm like, it's true for me. I don't know about you. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
No. And so that was one of my first lessons in diving into spirituality, was like, there's no real template. There are some universal understandings.
Yes,
but
like some universal truths in a sense,
But you can't apply each and everything to your individual situation. You have to leave room for spirit to work its magic through you. And that's how you really discover your gifts. But the day that I received my collares or my eleques in Santeria, the day that I got initiated, there's a bath and a ceremony and things you have to do when you come home. And that night, Santa Marta, la dominadora, Lubana Filomena, presented herself to me. And I said, hold on. This is not even your tradition, girl. Like, why when I've arrived in Santo, here you come. And then the next night, another guide from the Lua presented themselves to me as well. And that was when I realized that I had opened a door to a whole new world, and that maybe I was on the wrong path. Maybe they sent me down this road so that I could be course corrected. So that opened a whole new can of worms. But spirit has always been very, very evident to me. They're very clear. They don't leave room for confusion. And I'm blessed in that way.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I've met so many people. I have talked to so many different kinds of practitioners from so many different kinds of practices. And so through all of these experiences, I've had the privilege of getting a lot of insight into the different ways that spirit can manifest and all that. Sometimes there was I knew this, and this is an example I like to tell people because because it's so strange. I knew this white girl, and I still know her, and I say white, but really she's Asian American. I don't remember where exactly. I think from Thailand her family's from, but born and raised in America, I believe. And there was this time in her life where she got to have where she was very, very kind of not involved, but exposed to Loa spirits, Haitian spirits. And they were just like, she just felt their presence so much, so strongly and so crazily. She actually ended up, and she didn't really know where it was going to lead her, but she spent some time living in Haiti with her boyfriend because, you know, they were in love. That's what you do. You move into another country for your man.
You do things. Yes, girl.
You know, she moved to Haiti and whatnot and lived there for quite some time. And right now she practices something that comes from Thailand, specifically the spirituality of Thailand. That is what she practices. But she has always been so sensitive to just energy as a whole that, and she had a partner who was Haitian. She was living in Haiti. You know, these kinds of things, if you, regardless of what you practice and whatnot, if you are spiritual enough, you could get vibes from so many different directions and whatnot. And because there's so much in terms of energy that's going on in the world every single day. Every single day. The biggest trouble that people have really is probably tapping into it or understanding what they're seeing and then it's accepting that what they're seeing is real, because you know, people they'll trick themselves out of an experience real quick. They'll be like, oh, that was nothing. Oh, a coincidence, it can't be true and whatnot, because it really goes against like the identity of truth that they've already established for themselves. It doesn't feel real because what they know as true, there's something contradicting it now. And I'm saying all this because there are a lot of factors that go into each person's spiritual experience. You know, what I can tell you all day about all the things that have ever happened to me, and you will like it, you'll hate it, whatever. But at the end of the day, my dreams come through mad clear. Like, honestly, it's like I'm watching a movie. There is like never any confusion in my dreams. I know the difference between like a spiritual dream and just like, you know, one of them nonsense dreams. It's just me. I just, you know, like I know the difference. You know, I fell asleep watching Tiger King. I had a bunch of tiger dreams. I understand.
It wasn't that deep, right?
It wasn't that deep, Carla. Just stop watching Netflix. And then I know the difference between when like I have something and it just hits me, and it's Lassie and telling me, go do this on your birthday, and then I take it seriously. So right now, knowing these things as practitioners, you and I, like, how do you interact with your customers when you're serving them? You know, how do you incorporate this into helping them? Because they could be going through something completely different than what you've experienced.
Yeah. Well, let me say this first. I'm not a dreamer. I kind of envy that a little bit. I used to be, and then life started happening in crazy ways. But my intuition in my waking life is that strong, and it sucks. I hate it. Like, one day we got to talk about the burdens of these gifts too, because it's too much. Like, you know, I meet a person and I know off rip, I look into their eyes and spirit just downloads the whole relationship. You're going to know them for this long. Don't get too invested. This will be amazing, but let it go. Like, and I want to have adventure, but I can't, right? So that's part of that. The other thing I wanted to say was that before I was able to tap into my spirituality, understand it to be a spiritual relationship, I thought it was depression. It was depression. It was anxiety. It was spirit showing up in other ways, right? And so I really wanted to share that because I think that some people feel like they're not spiritual or they can't tap into their spirituality because they think it's supposed to look a certain way. And I had to really understand that my super duper duper heightened sensitivity to the energy around me was spirit also communicating with me that I was an empath, that I was a sponge to energy, that I needed to cleanse myself more, that I needed to wrap my head. Like, once I started to get those little tidbits, my life changed. because it helped me to understand how truly we are spiritually tethered to each other, because emotions are spiritual energy, right? Just being in the same room is a spiritual connection. So when I was able to understand that I had to create barriers between myself and other people so that I could own my own spiritual energy and then identify it as such and then find what spirits walk with me, that changed my life. So somebody had to hear that, because they wouldn't let me not say that.
And honestly, Trey, I feel for people like you. I really do. And that's not my natural gift. I say it because it's ever since I was growing up, I knew a few people who were very, very in tuned in the waking world, the way that you're saying. And I was always like kind of jealous, honestly. I was just like, well, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this? And eventually I learned how to be better at that. But it takes a lot more work for me. It's not something that comes to me like supernaturally. I said supernaturally. It's not supernatural, baby. Yes. It's not something that comes to me easily, you know. It's like, for me, it feels like climbing a mountain. Honestly, and all the troubles that come with that. But as I got older and like we weren't kids anymore, and I was seeing these same people that I grew up around with, it really hit them, like depression, anxiety, knowing things about people and stuff. It's like it can get this like weird kind of paranoia and stuff. And sometimes it's difficult to form like healthy relationships in a sense. I've known people who were so sensitive that they like went into drug use and stuff because they needed to, because it was just too much. They needed to they were like, no, I need this to calm down. I want to be numb. I'm tired of all this. And one side of me wants to say, oh, but it's so great. Like you can serve people so well and whatever. But then I was just like, okay, but that's like kind of selfish, because when I started seeing like the weight that you guys can carry, you know, having a gift like that, I'm just like, you know what? Honestly, just do what makes you happy. You know, do what makes you calm. do what feels good, because that's a lot. That can be a lot of responsibility, and I've seen it hurt. You know?
It hurts.
So I just be happy about my gifts now, and I'm like, you know,
please.
I just made peace with who I am as a practitioner and everything, and that's the way to be.
Yes, and that's the beauty of spirit, right? Because spirit's true gift is balance, understanding that they couldn't give us the desert without the ocean, right? Like spirit just always knows what they're doing. And so we need folks like you. It's the same thing when you go to spiritual gatherings, or misas, they call them in the Espiritismo tradition, right? Everybody can't get mounted. And I've been in misas where everybody has gotten mounted, and it was a shit show. It was literally a spiritual zoo, because who was grounded enough to bring the energy back down, right? Who could clear the space of energy that was being harmful? Nobody. And so we all have our different gifts, because we need them in community to serve each other, to serve ourselves, to serve each other, and then to serve the creator, right? But to answer your question, to your point, how do I use this gift to serve my folks, my community? My life is this gift. I literally can't separate from it. And sometimes I'm envious of that, right? When I see other practitioners who are like, oh, I just do this kind of thing and then I go live my life. I'm like, no, my intuition doesn't turn off. Right? I don't need these cards. These cards help me to anchor the message, but I can read you in 3 seconds, honey. Like, and I don't want to.
Yes.
I want to go to sleep.
Honestly, balance is super important, because when with a gift like yours, just since we're on this topic, it's like because of the way that it's manifested, it has put you in a position where, or someone like you and stuff, like I was telling you about the person I knew who like kind of got into drugs, and well, more than one, I think it was like 2 or 3 people I've known personally.
Yes. This
kind of happened with. On it, I feel my most anxious. I feel my most imbalanced. I feel my most like off when I'm not consistent in my practice. Yeah. So I feel the most centered, even with my situation, my gift being the way that it manifests and whatnot. I feel like if I'm not balanced, if I'm not doing what I need to do and everything, it's like I just kind of fly off a handle. you know. So
Yeah.
it's like your gift is something, it's like holding fire, you know. And you need to contain it. You need to breathe life into it, but you need to make sure it doesn't get out of control.
Mm.
And honestly, I like to think of mine like water. Like I'm an island in the middle of the
Yes.
ocean, and if I'm not careful, if I step off this island, I feel like I'm drowning. I feel like I just get completely overwhelmed with all that's going on. And you know, Aniola world, you said it's hard too. If you're not aware that you're picking up on someone's emotions and energy based on what we're saying. And I liked what that little point. That's why spiritual development, spiritual mentorship, whatever, actual spiritual help can be very, very important for people like us. You know, it's sometimes as consumers, we want to go towards the spiritual work, you know. We want to go towards, you know, manifesting this and, you know, the abundance that and this. And, you know, that's not bad. You know, I love my abundance. You know, don't, you know, I'm not going to say no to some money.
Okay. Please.
I'm human too. But we all know that it's not those are never going to be the pillars of your life. You have all the money, everything, all this. And if you can't find balance, like, you know, like Shay said, your life can really feel like it can feel like not much of a life. It can feel like you're being overwhelmed just living, you know. So it's important, man. It is important to take care of your spiritual situation, especially if you know deep down that, especially don't ignore that voice.
You really can't afford it. And I'm going to tell this quick story. Anyway, so my life has just been so tragic, right? And I have to laugh about it because it's ridiculous, right? But it all is it all is spiritual, and I understand that now, right? I truly understand that concept of trauma being medicine, right? And so when I was 26, I want to say, terrible year, right? Lost my mother, lost my brother, had that miscarriage, lost my job, got evicted, everything happened, right? I put myself in the psych ward. I said, you have got to be kidding me. I need a break, right? So I voluntarily committed to the psych ward because I could not take it anymore. Do you know who I saw in the psych ward? There was a substitute teacher that I had when I was 15 years old who taught me numerology in that 45-minute period. Okay, I only saw this man one time. He was a substitute teacher for my history class. He came in. He was like, just don't set nothing on fire, no blood, and I'm not going to bother y'all, don't bother me. He sat in the corner. He was doing numerology. He taught that to me. I never saw him again. Till I'm in the psych ward. He comes in my room as I'm acting a damn fool, trying to scream myself out of the ward, right? And he walks right up to me and he goes, I remember you. You're not crazy. You got a spirit walking with you. Go see my guy. And he gives me a card for a botanica in my neighborhood. And I go to this botanica and the man is like, you know, it's this walking with you, it's ancestral stuff, you need this, and that. And that is how my path begun. That's how much spirit don't play about me. And that's how much they had disguised it in all these ways. I said, okay, I'm depressed. Okay, I have anxiety. Okay, I'm crazy. Put me in this crazy place. And the spirit still found a way to get the messenger to me in that space. So when you have those inklings and sometimes you feel like you're losing your mind, it's not you having a breakdown, maybe it is a mental breakdown, but a spiritual breakthrough.
Yeah. It'd be like that, right? It'd be like that. You know, I like to, when people ask me about like my ceremony, you know, when my first ceremony is when I was like 15, I always say it was like the best, worst experience of my life, you know, or the worst, best experience. I don't know, because for me, it wasn't fun. It was not a good time. We were not chilling out or whatever. You know, I can't get too into it. It's still closed and all that. But let me tell you something. That was some of the worst stuff I've ever done in my life. That was the worst. That was one of the worst experiences I've ever felt, been through, and everything. It's like, it's to the point where I'm still high-key a little bit traumatized. I'm so serious. This is not a joke. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
It sucked. Oh my gosh, it sucked so much. And I had like, my mom was leading me through it. So it was, so it's, even if, I trust this lady, she's my birth mother, she's my spiritual mother. That's who she was in that moment.
I bet, yeah.
She raised me, but in that moment, she was this lady. She was this lady, because she told me, she was like, she'd already practiced. I told y'all it was around the house. It was a normal thing, really. And she said, well, it's time for you to go through ceremony. I was like, okay, sure. I was so, because she said
good, yeah.
Yeah, it was all good. You said, that's what you got me, and she was like, it's time for you to go through ceremony. And I was just like, okay, I'm ready. I was like, fine, I'm chilling. And she told me to do it. So I was like, okay, it's probably a good idea. Thanks. She explained to me why it was so important. And it's like, I heard it, but I didn't really know it. But after the ceremony and during too, just throughout the process and coming out of it, I am a whole different person. I am not the person I was before. I feel like I was remade. Like somebody stripped the old Carla off, like really just took their time to yank all of the old Carla off, take as much of her away, broke her down to rebuild her into this like different human who's just this brand new human, really living this brand new existence. And so that experience is something that I can never not be grateful for. I look back on it and it's just like, I'm glad it sucked so much. Even if, no, I know it's like I've made peace with my captor. I'm in spiritual Stockholm syndrome. Okay.
Word, because that's how it really, really be.
I have spiritual Stockholm syndrome. Okay. They got me. And I used to fight. I used to like be resistant or whatever. But now I'm just like, well, I'm here. I might as well just be here. Okay. If I'm gonna be here, I might as well be in it.
Well, see, that's the thing. Like, now spirituality is so trendy and everybody wants to be a witch or this or that. And sometimes you see practitioners doing really well, thriving on social media or even in their real lives, right? But you don't know what they had to do, what they go through, right? Like, you see me on Instagram shuffling my cards in this funnel. She's on IG Live. She looks so cool with her head wrap. You don't know how many altars I have to maintain. Like, my whole life is tending to altars. Like, I'm literally buying flowers. I'm at the liquor store. I'm at the flower shop. I'm at the cake shop. Like, I'm not doing anything else.
Not the cake shop, girl. Don't even get me started on the cake shop. Ugh.
They know me by first name. Like, I'm constantly cleaning, and you understand. And so it's like, if you see me with a little Telfeezy, a little Telfo Birkin bag, damn, I really did work for it. And sometimes I love what you're saying about initiation, because for a lot of folks who are struggling to find their path or find their way or find a mentor, they feel like they can't get started until they have that. They feel like, oh, if someone is not validating my experiences, or I don't have somebody to run to, then maybe I'm making this up, or it's not my time. And I really encourage people to just begin to lean in, and those mentors will find you. The road will start to open. But sometimes your life is the initiation. And I very much feel that way with me, right? Like, formally getting started on my path came much later in my life, but I was already very heavily indoctrinated into spirit through my life, right? Having to go through all of these deaths. That was a process of me being in seclusion, right? I had to wear certain colors for a certain amount of time, and being exposed to all these different things. So it wasn't my biological family sitting me down and saying, oh, we have this tradition in Espiritismo. This is how you do things in our way. But I was also adopted by a Puerto Rican family who made it very clear that in their Catholicism, I was to learn the Catholic prayers. That ended up coming full circle into my Espiritismo practice, right?
Oh, yeah. In Catholic prayers.
They stood the test of time for a reason, but I didn't have the privilege of growing up with my family who said, okay, this is how we do it. But Spirit still gave me the breadcrumbs so I can make a meal. And now I have a cornucopia, honey. I'm living lavishly. And this practice has helped me to connect with my birth family on both sides of my family. Imagine that, right? Like the child of 2 junkies who didn't know anybody. Now I have all of my siblings in my life because I prayed and I broke ancestral curses and I made sure to stay obedient, like you said, to spirit. Do what they told me to do, stay on the path that they guided me on. And they made sure that they would return everything that they took away tenfold.
You know, and that's absolutely. I remember I was working with a girl. Because, you know, we do mentorship and all that, but I was working with this girl. And we were trying to, I was helping her through some ceremonies so that she could understand like what Loi and spirit groups she was kind of, she was connected with. There are ways because, you know, it's not just a reading. Even if a reading can give you information about it, that's only step 1. You still have to actually, you know, there are so many ways to connect and build a relationship with the spirits that want to walk with you. Yeah. So anyways, she was presenting to the Giddy and everything, and something just told her to say, you know, like, I told her request something, and not money or anything, or not that those kind of stuff, but something in your life, and she wanted to reconnect with her family. Girl, let me tell you, this lady, within a week, she got a contact from some girl out in Jacksonville, her long lost, I think, like sister, because she was adopted. They like this, the family split up, I think, and her long lost somebody out in like Florida up here. She's in she's in like Kansas City, I think, and they start talking or whatever, and she learns that, you know, the voodoo already ran in her family. So she gets connected to her cousin, who is a practitioner, goes out to New York to meet the mumbo that her cousin and her family be working with and whatever. And about a month ago, she got initiated, you know, she went through her La Vedette ceremony in Haiti and everything with the people of her family. She did not know any of this when we met. When we met, I told her that my job is just to guide you. I don't know how it's going to happen. And we had always assumed that she would have probably, you know, initiated with me. Like that was the plan. We're getting ready for it and whatever. And but I was just like, give it a second. I remember I was like, we don't need to rush into initiation. Let us see where things are going for you. And that was the right choice, because homegirl literally got connected to her family, you know, she got all that, and now we're still, you know, we're still good friends and everything. And we're probably always going to have that kind of relationship where we could talk to each other and stuff. I'll be visiting her soon. But that was something that I got to facilitate, you know, and I only got to facilitate that because I wanted her to be authentic in her path, in what was meant for her. And I wanted to encourage her to pursue what was meant for her. And not everybody has the patience to do that. Not everybody. She trusted me. I am glad that you know, things were, it's just, I call her one of my favorite success stories. That's because, you know, no, I did. Because like she is definitely a success story, because she is, she had the patience. She was just like, I know voodoo's for me. I don't know where this is coming from. You know, I don't know exactly how it's going to take me. I just moved from Hawaii at the military. I'm ready to see what life has for me. And I was just like, girl, I'm on this journey with you. And now Spirit just done. You see what they did? You see what they did? You see what they did?
Honey, they don't play. When I connected with my my father's family, this is just last year I met my brothers. Okay. But my cousin had called me first. We did the whole ancestry thing, but I had did months of clearing work, months of like ancestral, like I said, tearing. Like, I can't take this into the rest of my life. I want my daughter connected to my lineage. I didn't even know like where the family was from. But my cousin calls me and she's like, yeah, I think you're my cousin. Like, help me to understand this. Who's your mom? Blah, blah, blah. And so I'm telling her, she's like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, well, I'm a spiritual consultant. This might be a little bit weird because you never know what kind of Puerto Rican you're going to get. You might get the Bible thumpers.
You don't even gotta say it. You don't even gotta say it.
You never know.
You know, like you're trying to like gauge their reactions, see who
Yeah.
you're working with before they send you to hell. Or
Yes, it's like double dutch. I was like, well, I kind of, how do you feel about tarot cards? And she was like, oh girl, that was your grandmother. She was always doing something in white. And I was like, but I had known already, right? I had known, like, I don't know why I feel called to work with these herbs in this way. I don't know why I want to go to this place for this reason. I just knew, you know, sometimes you just know. In Spanish, they call it a conocimiento. It's like, or connaissance, right? In French, they say.
yes,
I got
yes,
your French, girl.
Yes, that means knowledge. You're good.
Yes.
You're good.
It's just like the deep, intuitive knowing. And so that's beautiful. And so she knew, and the Luase knew, right? And like folks, they just made sure that it came together. But that is a beautiful success story.
Yeah. I be hyping her up, you know, because like, you know, this is, you know, and one of the things you wanted to know is like, when did it become clear that I needed to be more visible to support people in their spiritual journey?
Yeah.
This is, I grew up being my mother's bajuka, which is basically, the baji is the spiritual workroom for those who don't know. And basically you're like the keeper of the baji, you know, or their spiritual, but not in the sense that you own it, but you're like the spiritual assistant, you know, and keeper as in, I cleaned up after work when she did spiritual work. I was making sure the baji was clean. Part of my thing was to make sure the altars were clean and everything, was to make sure that things were taken care of, work with customers, translate for her if they didn't speak Creole. I did whatever she needed me to do. I was like working with her day in and day out. And so I got to see just about every kind of person you can imagine. People who are with good intentions, people with the worst intentions. Some people, they're desperate for help. Some people who need it and don't even realize, you know, I have, and I've seen so much spiritual work in general, and been exposed to so much of the voodoo of South Florida, because where we live and all that. And I think like over time you get exposed to it so much. Like you get a little bit information about what's missing. What is there? What isn't there? You know, what do people really need? And what y'all need is help. All right. No, that's what y'all need. Okay. Take it from, I know you hear me and you're just like, what? And I'm just like, yes, you guys need help. A lot of people don't need, they don't need readings. Some people don't need most people don't need spiritual work in that sense. Most people don't need someone to do something for them, because it's like, you know, it's like charity. You know, you don't learn how to take care of yourself. You're just constantly, not that charity's bad. It's just, you know, I'm Haitian. We got a bad relationship with charity. But but anyways, you know, right. You know, you teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime. So I got this like crazy insight into what people need, and it is help in the way that life is going. They need help with their spiritual situations, because if more people understood the depth of their spirituality, there would be less people compromising their values. There would be less people hurting each other in the community. There would be less pain amongst practitioners themselves. There would be less clients who are getting hurt by practitioners who are abusing their power. There's this like, we've come apart. We have fallen apart. We have out here in this land of social media and modern ways of, we have gotten to a point where we have forgotten where we came from, what any of this means. It is, and we need help. I'm telling you. I say this, I'm not even like, this is, I gotta laugh sometimes, because I remember some of the stuff that I've seen, and it makes me so sad. It hurts me to know that people like this exist. It frustrates me and it pisses me off knowing what some people do to each other, do to themselves, because because people are, and some people are broken, and it doesn't, and that's okay. That is a thing that happens when you live on this earth. Some people break, but then they forget that there's a need to put yourself back together. And if some people are going to do that alone, some people are going to fight their way out of the darkness, and I commend them. Some people are going to get help, but some people are going to find things that could have helped them, and it's going to be compromised, like spirituality. There are a lot of broken people who feel attracted to spirituality and spiritual work and whatnot, because it seems like something that will give them the answer, you know. It'll give them what they've been looking for, this feeling of completeness, wholeness, or solve this problem in their lives. And that approach usually doesn't end well. Sometimes they get taken advantage of. Sometimes they end up hurting themselves, or sometimes they just their approach to spirituality will get them disappointed, because what it has to offer is not necessarily what they thought they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, that's why so much of my work, and anybody who has worked with me can tell you this, my work is a very direct approach. I mean, just who I am, how nature nurtured me. You know, I'm from Brooklyn. I got a certain kind of edge to me anyway.
Oh,
right?
I see it.
I'm just built like that.
Oh, I see it.
But my spirit guides also, like, this is lineages worth of wisdom in my family, right? And even before, again, I had physical connection with my family. That bloodline was strong, and so they don't play about this work. I'm not the practitioner that you come to if you need a little razzle dazzle. I'm not who you come to with a consistent love questions. Is he for me? What do I do? You come to me when you want to work, when you need real answers, when you need to cultivate a discipline around your spiritual practice that will support you throughout your lifetime. Because I don't want to be anybody's crutch, right? I have real work to do. The baseline of my work here is not to just sit in a corner and give readings to people. This is revolutionizing work if it's applied properly, because what my ancestors are providing me with as a vessel, I'm providing it back to you so that we can grow as a community and drive away the darkness of the world. And the darkness is winning right now, right? We are being consumed because we are not living and walking in our light. We are not practicing our spirituality. We are not giving light to our ancestors. And so that's what we're feeling. It's this spiritual warfare. You can call it whatever you want. Drugs, poverty, this, that. It's spiritual warfare. And the devil is winning because y'all don't want to pray. Because y'all don't want to pray. So
no, I feel what you mean. I feel you. I feel you. It is you know, I based what I am around my life experiences, and I base what I do on my life experiences. But I've always been who I am. You know, I've sometimes I'm a little bit more of one aspect than another, because, you know, the season of my life, I might need more of one part of me than another. But and it's crazy because when I was young, I was very, very young. I got this I got this little sort of reading. It wasn't like a reading for sure. You know, I told you, I've always been around spiritual people. And my little sister, she runs in a family. She had this dream or whatever about like us, all of our family, where we would end up. And she imagined this kind of kingdom. And we were all playing roles in this kingdom, like pieces on a chessboard. And she was just like, yeah, you're going to, and she was like, she didn't know the name. It was so cute. She was like, and we were very young at the time. I think we were in elementary school. And she said, or somewhere around late elementary school. And she was like, you're going to be, in my dream, you were the bishop. And I was just like, what is a bishop? And she was just like, well, I don't know. It's like the thing on the chessboard. And she was just like, okay. Oh, and I was like, that doesn't exist. And through prompting, she was like, you're going to be, you know, you're both. You're like the bishop and the knight. So she came up with this new word for herself. And I was like, oh, that's what you mean. Bishop. That's the bishop and the knight. And she was
that's so cute.
Yes, bishop. Because we're young, you know, we're young.
Yeah.
And at that time, if I wasn't involved, and that was before, I didn't know what the heck that was going to mean. It was so far off. It was the most random thing. But I always remember that memory because I thought it was like the funniest thing that she had this dream about us. And let me tell you something, girl. I have become the spiritual leader and protector that she always said I would be. And
so now you're the bishop?
I am the bishop. Oh my gosh, I am the bishop. That girl was right. I cannot. Yes, I am the bishop. I really did become a priestess. Oh my God. I was shook. I wasn't even on the path of that. I was nowhere near that at the time.
This is what I wanted to ask you. So I wanted to know, like, having been around all this spiritual energy, growing up and like seeing ceremony and seeing like real practice in practice, because a lot of the people that I grew up around, if they did practice, it was very quiet. You know, so again, I grew up around Santo for the most part. And there was like a big scandal that happened, like late 70s and the 80s. People were just taking people's money. It was a lot of cocaine trafficking through Botanicas. There was a lot going on in the Bronx and Harlem.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. It wasn't. So people started to go back underground, right? And so they would have their altars in the closets or under the bed. Grandma, what's this? Why you got that glass of water under the bed? Mind your business. It's not for you. Right? But they were practicing. So I didn't get the luxury of seeing people who are out and proud. Like my daughter sees me maintaining, she prays at my altar, she knows what's going on. I didn't see that. So as you were growing up and having, like Haitian voodoo especially, having such a harsh negative stigma, did you ever hide your practice? Were you ever ashamed of like what your mother did? Like how did that, how? And then becoming the bishop, like.
We're not, oh my God, okay, all right, so, yeah. So the way it happened was my grandfather was, and my mother's grandfather, he was not a practitioner, all right? And my grandma, she was not really a practitioner. They were Christians, but like sort of the 1 foot out the door, 1 foot in the door, I mean, in the house Christians that are, you know, not really Christians kind of thing. You know, or, yeah, if they really need help, you know, they're still gonna end up where they need to end up, but they're in the daytime Christians.
Right.
Now, like, yeah,
in the life.
Yes. So in my my paternal great grandfather was the Ungan. He was the priest, and he was the one who kind of taught my mom and everything. And my great grandmother was the one who like told my mom, like, hey, you know, you're my grandchild. Let me tell you, here's what this family is really about. Your dad's not gonna, my son, your dad, he's not gonna tell you this, but grandma's gonna tell you. Your grandfather, he was about it. He had like, you know, a bunch of things and whatnot, and he was the one who also started teaching her some stuff as well. Now, because of who my grandfather was, my mom in like 1999 or something, like a year or so before I was born, she left the voodoo because she was doing it her whole life, but she was kind of like a rebel, and her family basically turned their backs on them because they were all very Christian and stuff. They weren't as, you know, Christian. They weren't daytime Christians. My aunts and uncles, they were just like regular Christians by that point. Yeah. And they were like, okay, everyone shunned her, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna try to be with my family. So for the first like 8 or 9 years of my life, I did not realize what our history was, really. I think it wasn't until I was about like 8 years old, 7 or 8, that I had even seen my mom doing anything like that. But it was like in her closet. I didn't know what it was. It was the mind your business, you know? Yeah. That's what we were at, mind your business at like 8 or 9. So crazy stuff would happen, you know, like, because my spirits were already manifesting, like at age 8, 7, we're already having these little experiences. Yeah. And my mom just like wrote it off. She was like, oh, really? But didn't explain it. You know, some stuff was some long story long, you know, some stuff was happening to me. She was like, oh, I just got to go to Haiti. Did something in Haiti, came back, it stopped happening. I was like, never knew at that age what was going on. But then like around age 11 or 10, 11, she was just like, she came out the closet. She came out the spiritual closet. And and we went from the closet to the laundry room, and that became her workroom. And she just started from there. But she gave me a choice. She was like, you know, I know I kind of raised you Christian. Now I'm throwing all this new stuff at you. You might not know how to like deal with it. Yeah. I just want to let you know you can do whatever you want. I don't care. As long as you know you have options. But my mom was so old. She just like let us have the choice. She was like, do what you think is best. You don't need to be here if you don't want to be. But if you do want to be here, I'm happy to show you. So because of that, and I've seen, like, I've had kind of both sides. And so there are times I remember, especially around when I was doing my ceremony, I had to take time off of school. and I had like, I remember I was at lunch and they're like, why are you taking time off of school? You know, like you're leaving. It's like, no, I'll be around or whatever. It's like, okay, so what's going on? You know, I'm just doing this little thing, right. You know, or what's the thing? And I'm just like, well, you know, this
mind your business.
You know? I was like, I didn't know how to talk about it because that's like, I'd been so used to seeing like one thing. So I remember I was telling my friends, so, yeah, it's like a little like ceremony thing, you know, and I'm going on. So how's class?
All right. So enough about me. What are you doing?
So you just finish that paper, you know, let me see your notes. And there are so many times where I said things like that because I never denied it outright, especially as I started getting more involved. I was slow to be convinced because I was always a very logical person, you know. I always had a way of looking at the world. And I was just like, if I'm gonna do something, I need proof. So honestly, I wasn't really Christian at the time. I would, because I didn't feel super connected to it. But there were just times where I would just like be in the baji or be around a ceremony or something like that or whatever. And I just, the way that I felt, the peace, oh my gosh, the connection that I felt sometimes, I couldn't like explain it. Just sometimes I would find myself doing these random things or just be around things or whatever. I would fall asleep in the baji and wake up with, and I would just be like, I need to do something, or I'd have these weird dreams. So it's like, so watching my mom practice didn't convince me to practice. It's like, I feel like I was kind of, they started slow pulling me in, the spirits, not her. Yeah. And then eventually it's like when I got to the ledge, they just kind of pushed me off. And so I didn't always know how to explain it. I was, especially when it was hard to identify with, because people were calling me Mambo priestess very soon after my ceremonies because, you know, I was manifesting spirit real quick. I was doing this really quickly and that really quickly. And I felt like it was so much for me because I'd never seen myself that way. Yeah. And for that to happen so quickly and so unexpectedly, that it was very obvious that people were always telling me, oh, you're the one who's going to replace your mom and whatnot. It was so much responsibility. I was like, can we chill? I have finals to take. I was like,
right. It was just yesterday.
Like, I just got here. What are you even talking about? You know, like, I don't, you know, and then, but I never lied about it. I never lied. If asked a direct question, I would always be truthful. I didn't see the point in lying. I was just kind of evasive. And over time, I think I just got to the point where, especially as I learned the history of Vodou, what it meant to the Haitian people, what its role in the revolution and all that, it's like I got to a point where I was just like, well, even if everybody hates it, I don't know, man. This is the thing. Yeah. I was just like, Eric, I mean, a lot, even if people don't like it, this the thing, you know? And I had seen the effect it had in my life. And like after this, and after my ceremony, I tell you something, there was just, being evasive didn't feel true to who I was anymore, you know? It's like, I knew that no one would ever get me into a spiritual closet, you know?
Exactly. The pressure is getting worse up. Yes, you can't deny.
Okay. All right. So you were just very open, Mambo Si Sisa. I can't talk about certain things. You're so okay. You know, it's and you know, not a lot of, and there was a little pushback too, because once I got to a point where I was like, okay, no turning back. I'm gonna be super open. Whatever. If you ask, you're gonna ask. If you can't handle the truth, don't ask me questions. Kind of vibe about me. Mm-hmm. But once I got to that point, it's like there were people, like even my mom, she was hesitant because she knew what she faced when she was practicing. I mean, like a huge part of our family kind of turned their back on her. You know, her father, like, you know, disowned her, you know, and and she felt so alone. I think she, you know, she didn't, I don't think she wanted me to face the difficulties that she had faced. Yeah. And it's not easy to practice. Like one of my spiritual siblings, this will be, I mean, man, this trendy spirituality, it's not what y'all think it is. One of my spiritual siblings, he is an older man, like 50 something, from Haiti. He does not speak all that much English or whatever. He was on dialysis for a long time. And so he got his government checks. And I tell you, he's on that. This makes sense because he was renting a room out from somebody. And he doesn't smoke. He doesn't do nothing crazy. He doesn't party. He's an old Haitian man, okay? He does, like, I'm telling you, he's an older Haitian man, okay? He's not doing nothing crazy or whatever. And he doesn't really have people over or whatever. His body, like, literally just couldn't do much. He just comes home, sleep, does whatever he needs to do and whatever, renting out that efficiency from this couple. One day, he was at the hospital. He was hospitalized. There was something going on with him. You know, when you're on dialysis, you got a lot of health issues. And he didn't come home for a few days. Now, the wife of the people he was renting from thought she was going to do something nice. She was going to clean up his efficiency for him. So he would come home to a clean place, maybe cook some food for him out of kindness. She goes into his efficiency and she sees the closet kind of cracked open. And what is in his closet? The altar. So she sees the candles and all this, and she freaks out because she's a Haitian Christian. She's like dead Christian. She was like, I can't have some priest in my house. By the way, he was not a priest, okay? He just had some candles and some pictures, like, and some offerings. Right. Like, you know, you know, it wasn't nothing crazy. Right. So, but she freaked out. And they didn't have a lease agreement or anything. They basically shook hands, and and his rent was always on time. Mm-hmm. Them government checks, they deposit, okay? So he just, he always paid his rent. He didn't cause trouble, nothing. But once she saw that, like, thing in his, the little altar in his closet, she took, just minding his own business. She kicked him out. She was like, you got a month to leave, or I'm calling the police on you. And, you know, Haitians don't like trouble. Mm-hmm. They do not. The Haitians do not like trouble. They are not trying to make their lives complicated. He didn't even do anything. He just said, okay, I'm going to go. And he was very worried because it was like sort of in the pandemic. It wasn't too easy. Mm-hmm. Like right before the pandemic, it wasn't too easy to find a place and everything. And a place in his budget too. He couldn't physically work a normal job, so it's not like he had a whole bunch of resources to just pay first, last, and deposit, go into any old apartment. And so this is the stigma that comes. There's been times where I have we were trying to rent out a place for our botanica when we first tried to open. They heard we're doing a botanica. They're like, no, I don't accept that stuff in here. I don't want to, and if they don't want to be outwardly, you know, discriminatory, they'll, right when they hear, they'll be like, you know what, never mind, it's kind of rented already, it's fine, or whatever. Or, yeah, you know what, yeah, now that I think about it, I want to use this place for storage, you know.
Right.
Right now, in this last month, I've been trying to get certain things certified with my local city, and I'm being very open about it. I'm like, yeah, I'm running a voodoo business. Yes, I am. I'm teaching classes. You know, I'm doing ceremonies. Yes, this is what I'm doing.
Wow.
And yeah, because I'm trying to get out here. I'm putting it out there in the world. I'm trying to change the way people look at voodoo, because I present to this and like everybody gets like weird and quiet, like, ooh, voodoo, what are you gonna do? Oh my gosh, is there or do we have to worry about chickens? I was just like
yes, like, but mind your business.
I was like, relax, like I can like chill, you know. And then I'm encountering pushback and stuff, and they told me that I could not have my business in the city. And
person is saying too in Miami, same thing.
Yep. And you know, yep, right there. We're in like Broward area, not too far, in like Fort Lauderdale area. And they told me, and the girl who was handling my thing, she was like, oh, no, you just can't do that and whatever. Turns out they had categorized my business. But, you know, I was not having any of that. I was like, if the city wants to create problems with me because of my religion in this United States, in these United States of America, if they want to discriminate against me because of my religion, I want to hear them say it to my face.
Oh my God.
So I went there, like, personally, and I was just like, I heard I can't do this, and I want to know why.
Now they really worried about chickens, girl.
You know, I was just like, in these United States of 2022, right now, you're telling me we're gonna tell me I can't do this because I want you to say it to my face.
Oh my.
So I went down there and I was just like, tell me why. I want to see the ordinances. I want to see the specifics. I want to read what you are telling me so I know what to do. And then I hear, and then the manager of the planning development or whatever, she calls me to the side and she's like, hold on. We want to make sure you feel respected and heard. And we want to make sure, because, you know, it's my name going on this rejection letter. So let's just be sure that everybody's on the up and up. And I was just like, okay, finally, someone who knows how to do their job. Because if I had to go in the direction they were seemingly trying to push me, I would have. But maybe it's not, and I don't want to say that situation happened specifically because of discrimination, but sometimes it does. That situation likely happened because of misinformation,
right?
You know, because they didn't know what my business entailed. They didn't understand it. And so I had to do the legwork to say, no, I'm not going to take the first no. I need you to tell me what's going on so we can get on the same page. I don't think any of those people I didn't meet anyone who I felt like was specifically trying to discriminate against me in that situation, but I've met plenty of people who did. So these are what I'm fighting against half the time. Either people who specifically want to discriminate or people who are misinformed and don't understand what I'm doing, and they need to be educated. Yeah. So there is certainly hurdles to jump over.
Yeah, I can imagine. And then I wonder too, like working so closely with your family, working with your mom, and then having this pressure to take over. I don't know if you feel that pressure to take over necessarily, but like there is a little bit of an expectation. You know, you have been her apprentice for a while. Like, do you find it hard to separate and create your own identity, or are they all woven together? Like, how do you move through your practice in that way?
Thing is, I've always had like quite a, I don't want to say a big personality, but it, like, I've always had a very distinct personality. You know, like people, and my mom is the same way, honestly. And she's not a bully or anything, and she's not too loud, but like you see her and you're just like, okay, yeah, I get this one.
Yep.
But then, you know,
The first time I ever saw a video of her, I was like, I'm gonna sit right here and watch this. Yes, I am, because she said so.
and I feel like and I feel like I am the same way. For us, I don't feel like I need to be like craft my own identity or anything, because we have always been such different people that, and what we've wanted has always been, so it has kind of been different, you know. And no, the way we've manifested has been different. We have similar goals when it comes to the future of Voodoo, what we want to do with our business and everything. But the way we always thought about doing it, and the way in her role, in my role, we've always wanted to play different roles. And so there's no kind of fight in that way. But at the same time, there's also a level of respect there. Like when I told you, like pretty soon after my ceremony, there were people talking to me about, you know, you're the one who's going to replace your mom, and mumble this, mumble that, priestess this, priestess that. And, you know, it was and even though it was daunting a little bit, it was flattering a little bit, at the end of the day, I've never seen my mom as my competitor. You know, she's never seen me as her competitor. We don't have that kind of relationship. I've always wanted to support my mom. So there are times when, like, whenever she's working with her clients, I take a step back. You know, I let her be the leader in that room at the time. I don't want there to be any confusion. And in the beginning, it was hard for her to do the same thing for me, because she's so protective. She was just like, you know, I don't ever want to put you in a position that's bad. And, you know, within the Vodou community, there are a lot of people who don't know how to respect you. There are a lot of people who have tried to demean me because of my age. There are people who have tried to, you know, act a certain way because of some reason or another. But eventually I just had to tell her, like, hey, like, that's enough. You know, eventually I was just like, Mom, if you don't give me a chance to fail, because you're so busy trying to protect me, I'll never learn. And honestly, that failure is yet to come. I know the thing she was so afraid of, that trauma of her difficulties in Vodou, like the things that she didn't want me to do, the fights she didn't want me to take on, are the kind of fights that I'm chasing after now.
Right.
Yeah. You know, she wanted to protect me from the discrimination, from that. And now and I'm out in here trying to find new ways, new people who might want to offend me. And
you got a problem when you want to fight,
you know. I mean, for them now, and I'm lucky because she respects me as much as I respect her. So she will, it's to the point where if I'm dealing with my clients, she will take on the role of my bajika. She will be my assistant, and she will take a step back and let me lead. If it's a time for certain ceremonies or something, I'll take a step back and follow her lead, because we know where our strengths are. And even with the business, like, I own the business. I'm running things when it comes to the bigger financial stuff and whatnot, but because I'm better suited to that. But when it comes to a lot of our spiritual goals, I let her lead, because, you know, I don't even feel like I want to replace her yet. I still feel like there's so much left for her to give. And I get really happy thinking about all the things I can still receive from her. Like, at this point, I'm very protective of her, because I'm just like, okay, I need like a good 20 more years from you. I was like, I know you're getting up there, but I think, you know, the age that our family gets to, I think we can get a good 20 more years into this situation, maybe 30, not pushing it.
Nothing too crazy.
You know, nothing too crazy, but 20 more years of some commitment, you know, then let's see what we can make it happen. And maybe And when she does get to a point, honestly, I don't think I'll even really want to take on all of her responsibilities until I absolutely have to, which is when she dies.
Right.
So I feel like we're in a great place. She and I, it did not start this way. Just a side note, I'm talking all happy now, but this was a journey.
Right. That's why I had to ask, because I'm like, I can imagine, even if it doesn't move into the competitive space, which sadly oftentimes it does, no matter the relationship. That's just how some people are built. Or, you know, you start to see what you can manifest, you start to make the money, and then people start to stray away from the principles. But just in terms of like the respect that you have for the tradition, the respect that you have for your mother, I know I sometimes struggle to show up as my full self in spaces with my elders and my mentors, because I'm like, why, you know so much, go ahead girl, you got it. Or like, or I'm not ready, you know, or I don't want to step on your toes. Like, I feel like I can do this a little bit better or differently, and we can get different results, but I don't want to make you feel like I'm undermining you. So I'm sure it had to be a journey.
Oh, absolutely. There were some fights, you know, there were some moments. There are times where we've been in the middle of a ceremony and like, so she did something and I was so mad. I was so mad. I was so mad. I was just like, if I don't say something right now, this is not going to go well. Right. So like, I just had to like take her to the side, and I'm gonna just be like, I'm gonna need you to never do that again. I was like, Mom,
it ends today.
I was like, I'm gonna need you to. You don't even see it, but let me explain to you what you just did to me, and I'm gonna need to never see this from you ever again. Okay. And then there are times where she was just where she's maybe taking me aside in a different space or something, and then she just been like, "Who do you think you are?"
That part.
Yes, and she was just like, I don't know where you think you're going. So but it's like I think the best part of our relationship is that we didn't let those moments define where things were gonna go. Yes. And luckily for us, although we didn't always see it, because this definitely took like a good 4 or 5 years to get to where we are now in this like cohesive situation. We learned that our success is directly tied to us working well as a team. We are the most successful when we're working together. We are the most happy. We are the most like blessed and balanced in financially, spiritually, mentally, health-wise when we are working together as a team. Yes. So it's honestly, I feel like the spirits did it on purpose. Honestly, some of the things that happen, I was just like, oh, okay, you really gonna I'm like, okay, so okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love that.
1 second. Honey, exactly, you did ask a question here. What happens when a spirit offers you a ring? Typically, it's responsibility, because they want a deeper connection to you, likely. 2, don't rush into that marriage, honey. Okay, don't do that's they be out here. They expect more from you in a situation like that. But if I were you, I would DM me or Che. Can you handle something like this?
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't know who you follow, or whoever, but if I were you, I'd DM her, me, whatever you want, and maybe get into that a little bit more on the side. I want to make sure that you're taken care of for your specific situation, rather than just giving you a bunch of stuff right now.
Right. Generic advice that can make it worse.
Yeah. Oh yes, generic advice that can make it worse. That's they be out here. They be out here.
Oh yeah, girl, please. I done been through it all. Take this bath, you'll be fine. And then all the spirits are sitting on my bed. What the hell? I was trying to get rid of the one. Now it's orphanage.
There's some confusion and complication in spirituality. Let me tell you. Yeah.
But this is why I tell people, like, you know, again, I was confounded when I found out that there was so many different paths. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, oh, do you practice this? What about that? I'm like, what the hell is that word? Who put those words together? That's a thing. And like, it's a tradition that is ancient and people are rooted in. And so when I found out that there were so many different ways to approach spirituality, I really had to divorce myself from this need to attach myself to a thing. I realized that was my own ancestral karma, and that was a shadow part of me that wanted to belong to something and belong to someone, and, you know, have a religion, have a tradition, have a mentor. When it's like, truly at the root of every single tradition or path, you have to connect with yourself first. You have to be able to sit. It doesn't matter how many lua you serve if you can't sit down when you have to light a candle and say a prayer and wait for them to speak back to you. It doesn't matter how many orishas walk with you if you cannot sit in stillness. And so we have to master that first. And when you were speaking earlier about people needing help more than anything else, it's like, you need help with sitting your ass down. Right? Like, you don't have to buy all the books. You don't have to Google all the things, go down the YouTube hole of what does Yemaya mean? Sit down, turn all the devices off, and connect with what your spirit is telling you. And I promise you, it will not steer you wrong. And like you said, you have to take your time, because when you start to connect, when you accept that ring, when they present themselves to you in the dream and they say, we're ready to work with you, now you begin to get penalized for what you know. You can't get hurt for what you don't know. You don't get chastised for what you don't know. But when you know better, you better do better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is why I urge people not to rush into certain kind of things, because it's like certain things you do, it's like making a promise. It's like offering a piece of yourself or making a commitment to something. The only thing is, you know, you can make certain promises and forget them. When you're dealing with people, you can go back on them. Sometimes you can say, I didn't mean it that way. You got more options when you're dealing with people.
Okay.
But when you're dealing with spirit, one, they don't really forget. They you could forget, they don't be forgetting. They don't forget, they don't let go. Sometimes there are some that are very slow to forgive. And so you don't want to put yourself in a position where you promised something, but you did not realize what you were promising when you promised it, you know, because sometimes you could tell somebody, I'll love you forever. And then, you know, stuff happens, you know, life happens. So you don't love that person forever, whatever. But when you do something that could mean that spiritually, you take an action that could have that spiritual meaning of almost like telling a spirit, I will love you forever. Okay. They're just like, okay, well, bet. I'm going to show up everywhere now.
I mean, especially the loi. I tell people all the time, please leave the loi alone. Please. Like, they will come to you. I promise you they will come to you. If it is for you, they will present themselves. You can't deny it. Do not go looking for them and playing with them. They're not the ones. Yeah.
The Haitian Noir are a different breed. That's a whole other conversation. But yeah, just on the topic of them, it's like, you know, right now we're kind of doing this little series about the different lois, and dozens of spirits just in one little sector of Haiti, much less the whole thing. And there are so many that exist in ways people like don't even realize. With social media, there are only a few popular ones. And so people sometimes, a little thing they do is like they'll have a dream about something or whatever, and then they'll assume that it's this one spirit that they've heard about. Right. And then they start doing things, getting that into confusion because they're listening to like, oh, that generic advice, just give them this and that, this and that, just do it. And then that gets them into trouble. So be careful. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
I've seen it many times.
No, you're good. Good. So right now, like, just thinking about the future and everything. Maybe, and this is a broad future thing. Could be a year from now, 10 years from now, whatever. Yeah. What do you want to accomplish here with your business, with your spirituality, the way you serve people? what is the general end game, if not the specific one? Because I don't think any of us have a specific end game.
Yeah. You know, my goal is to consistently be obedient, right? Because in my lifetime, I have also been very much a rebel, right? And so I find it so strange that I rebelled against authority figures, structure, like I deliberately dropped out of stuff, like I'm gonna do it my way, only to be infinitely disciplined by the invisibles, right? Like I have to be obedient. Right? So they like, you can play around with the people down there, but we have things to do. And this message has been coming up consistently for me. This is one of the burdens of the work, of the gift, that I am actively working to transmute how I see it, how I interact with it, because I know for a fact that my life is not my own, right? I have been I've been told that from other diviners. It's come to me through my own meditation. And my life has proven that. Since I was a young child, I was always considered counsel to my peers. You know, I'm 8 years old. They're like, what do I do? I don't know. I'm 8 too. I don't know. But here, let's figure it out, right? So my life is not my own. And so I know that whatever I do must be in alignment and must be ordained and sanctioned by spirit. And my goal with the work that I do now, which is the consultations, I push into like staff development spaces to help people to connect with their own individual spirits so that they're showing up at work as fully whole as they can, right? The tarot work, all the candle magic, the botanica that I have online. I really want to support people on their path towards self-mastery. It goes beyond just basic spiritual development. It goes beyond just like, what do you call it? Self-improvement. It's about self-mastery, being very clear about who you are, what shadows you walk with, what spiritual energy you walk with, so that you're showing up as your brightest light, like I mentioned earlier. Because the way that burnout happens, and I noticed that practitioners get really greedy or they start to lose integrity, is because they're trying to play God and trying to do everything, right? They want to be every single part of their community. They want to get all the fame and the glory for it. They want to give minimal help without getting paid for it. It gets very convoluted because you're taking on too much. And so you get burnt out and then you just want to go and chase the dollar instead of doing the real work. And so my goal is to really help people to find their truest passion. What is your destiny? What gift did spirit give you with? What gift does spirit gift you with, right? That can support the collective becoming better. And with my mediumship in particular, I really want to help to connect people who were adopted or lost their families, never knew their families, and support finding missing children. That is something that I want to be very active about with my mediumship specifically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see. Definitely, your life experiences have really seeped into so much of your spirituality and the way it works, everything, and the way you work, I should say. Mm-hmm. It just really does define your purpose.
Yeah,
but it should definitely. For me, when I think of endgame, well, general endgame,
right. Broad.
You know, I have I felt uncomfortable about work for a long, spiritual work and voodoo as a business for a long time, because I felt like people didn't appreciate it the way that I did. You know, I remember people making special requests during like initiations, and I was just like, ma'am, what? Do you know what you... I was like, do you know what you came here for? I was like,
what were they asking for?
Yeah, you know, I can't say it on camera or anything. Cause in the situation I'm thinking about, because it was right in the middle of it, so I it's not something I could talk about. Yeah. But I'll give you other examples. People talking about the like, oh, how they want spirit to treat them. I was just like, that's not up to me. What are you talking about? What? Or people talking about how, or sometimes we'd be in the middle of doing something and they'd be like, no, that seems hard. Or it's like, this could hurt or something. Or something like, or, you know, I'm not, I feel like this isn't going to be easy. I've actually heard that I
No
feel like
shit.
this isn't going to be easy.
Duh.
You know, this isn't going to be easy. And if it's a situation like, you know, like we were talking about the last live, protecting yourself, not doing anything that compromises your sense of self, nothing with assault, sexual stuff, nothing with that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like stuff like, you know what, can I just like pay you this money and move on? And then I just like, when I get to those moments, it like, you know,
right. I feel
like,
you. I took a deep breath. Like,
you know, I get to those moments and I'm just like, no, because I have so much respect for it. And I feel like I fight so hard to be taken seriously as a practitioner. I fought to have the right to be in this space. I fight to be able to practice amongst foreigners. I fight to be able to practice amongst people who think I shouldn't be allowed to share their space. It's like people who and I, you know, this. I was renting chairs for a ceremony. Just like I'm renting chairs for a ceremony. And I go to return the chairs. The lady says she'll be there at 2:00 at her store. She's not there. And I have like 40 to 50 chairs in my brother's car. He has to go to work. But the door is unlocked. So I go in, I start putting the chairs down. I take a video of what we're doing so she don't think, you know, we're doing nothing in her store. Because we got to get rid of these chairs. And I don't have another truck coming to put these chairs in her store. So I call her, I let her know. And she calls me a few hours later and she says, oh, my husband wasn't there. And I was like, nope, the door was open. I don't know if he was supposed to be watching the store, but I put all your chairs back. You know, here's what happened, blah, blah, blah. And then she gets pissed because her husband was supposed to be watching the store. And I was like, oh, this was like marital problems to me.
Not my problem.
Right? I was just like, so I'm like trying to exit because she starts like ranting or whatever. And she gets so caught up in her rant. She says to me, anyone could have done any kind of disgusting voodoo in my store while he was gone. And I'm just like, like and I'm just like, because she knows what I rented the chairs for. She asked me, I told her. I was just like, whatever. And like she was so caught up in her moment. She was so caught up in her moment. She like forgot that who she was talking to and said that to me out loud. And I was just like, you know what, thank you very much. Have a nice day. Goodbye. Go divorce your husband or something. I don't know. I was like, I'm not the one. But, you know, like there's a lot of stuff in this space. And so when you're doing it like as a business, sometimes I feel like I might be in danger of practicing inauthentically, you know, which is why I've done a lot of work to fight that. The services we offer, whether it's mentorship, consultations, guidance, ceremonies, or whatever, I always go about it in a way that, like, one, I try not to operate from a place of need. So so when it comes to business, I have things that are specifically for business, for the purpose of making money. Streams of revenue that can take care of me in my life, because I want to be taken care of in me in my life.
Right.
But so that I never have to make the choice between me needing money and me needing to walk my path authentically. You know, I never ever want to have to make that choice, because if I have to, I can see what happens. So yeah, I am putting in the work as much as it can for Wyom to elevate voodoo the way people see it, what it means to people, what it means to me, and showing my perspective of voodoo, because I feel like it's one that a lot of people don't really understand. It's to practice authentically for myself, my family, the children I'll have someday. And it's to help the people of Haiti. Now, part of like some of the projects we have, like if I'm buying things like wholesale, whatever, and I can get it from Haiti or from Haitians, that's always my first stop. You know, if I can bring money back into the community, that's what I'm always about doing that. I want voodoo to connect us. You know, I want it to inspire us the way that always had before, for hundreds of years before before today, you know. And in my pursuit of the truth, I found voodoo. Because I told you I was never that interested in Christianity. I was never like wholly committed to it. There was always something a little bit wrong about that, about Christianity. Something that wasn't quite right. Yeah. Not that it's bad to practice, you know, but it wasn't quite right for me. I felt like it wasn't really what I needed, you know?
It's incomplete.
Yes. Mm-hmm. For me, it was kind of incomplete. It wasn't quite there for me, you know? And so so the reason why I really committed to voodoo, honestly, wasn't because of my mom or anything. It was because I have been in pursuit of the truth. And I think that voodoo is the closest I have ever come to the truth of the world that I live in. Right. You know, voodoo has given me, has like, no matter what the problems it has, what problems it can create, the people who practice it can create or whatever, that part, right. You know, I voodoo, honestly, is, I'm never going to give it up because, and I'm not exactly sure where it's going to take me, but I remember I was like 15 years old and I was like, that's a risk I'm willing to take.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful path, you know, and I practice 21 divisions, which is the syncretism of Haitian voodoo and Catholicism. Learning that my family, the part of Puerto Rico that my family is from, is the closest part to DR. It makes a lot of sense. And so for me, once I really dove in, like I was kind of, like I said, tapping in, right? I was having these life experiences. Spirit was riding my back, but I still wasn't leaning in. And then when I bought the tarot cards and I bought the stones and I started to do the things, Spirit was like, all right, she's ready. Let's go. And the ways that they started to manifest in my life, very similar to your birthday story with La Sirene, like just whatever I asked for, they were opening roads. I was saying, take this person out of my life if they're not really about me. Poof, they're gone. Bring this person in my life if they really are about me. Here they go. And so I'm like, this is what my elders were talking about when it comes to faith and the seeing, right? Because I grew up in a Baptist Christian home. My foster mother was very devout in her mind, but we know that was a weekend devoutness, right? But in her mind, she was like a hard Bible thumping Christian.
Yes.
And same thing. I really couldn't get with God, right? I was like, something about this is not right. Now, me and JC are homeboys, right? We cool, right? And I find about the Bible to be a profound tool to use in my own spiritual work. But at the time, it was misconnected, right?
Isn't that funny? I believe in God more now than I ever did.
Girl,
I was in Bordeaux.
I be out here like my mother for real, like praise God and all of this, and I'm like, it's not like you, but yes, praise God.
Yes, I think just my perspective on him is different than Christians, but I tell you, man, I tell you.
When God is good, you can't deny it. You know, you can see it. And that's why I love what you were saying too. Like, when you decided to take this step and move forward in this role, you were like, it's a risk I'm willing to take, whatever it comes with, because you know how good God is, you know. And in the Bible, they talk about, if you deny me in front of your friends, I'll deny you in front of my Father. And I'm at this point in my life where I can't hide it. One, it is my whole life. Two, I'm building this following. You know, 3,000 followers on Instagram is tiny in the IG universe. But if 3,000 people walked up to me right now, I'd be overwhelmed. So it's a lot of people still, right? And so honoring that people come to me for guidance, come to me for wisdom. Last year was very difficult for me. I found myself backsliding and kind of losing my faith a little bit because of what was happening in my life. And then I realized how much I let my clients down, how much I let my community down, because people really do depend on me and my site and my gifts. Like, they really work, right? I'm not a charlatan. I'm not whoever I believe myself to be when I'm sitting in the imposter syndrome. I'm really here to support community, and I cannot afford doubt. I cannot afford to deny that I have a connection with spirit, because when I do, people who are close to me they lose a support system. And when I disconnect myself from spirit, I disconnect myself from the truth of who I am, and I really can't afford it anymore.
Mm-hmm. And spirit will take care of you, just not usually in the way people think. Like I'm not rich yet.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming.
I'm still waiting on it, you know. I'm still waiting on it.
Yeah.
LOL. But I'm not rich yet, you know. It's on the to-do list, hasn't come yet, but it's I believe I'm working on it.
It's on its way.
Yeah, it's on its way. But in the meantime, I've never had a bill I couldn't pay, you know. There are times where I was just like, well, you know, this is going to be the end. I was like, oh, well. And there are times I was like, oh, well, I am not getting out of this one. This is oof.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the times where rent money has been lost, times where, you know, that I have been robbed. Where I was just like, well, not sure where that's going to come from, but here we go. But I'm actually most taken care of when I'm being consistent in my spirituality.
Oh yeah.
And that's not really a richness financially, even though you know, so lighting candles for that one. You know, even though it's not that kind of richness, honestly, I don't have a lot of the problems that other people have. You know, I'm blessed in a lot of ways. And every time, oh my gosh, and I learned this from my mom. And it used to piss me off growing up because there's never a problem that's too much for her. And even if she got herself into a problem or something, not saying she's like super responsible, but like, you know, sometimes we make mistakes. You know, we make bad investments. We you know, we're human. We make those mistakes. She just got out of it. Oh my gosh, my mom is like a child. Like my mom didn't. Her mom left when she was like 12. Her dad was always working. She kind of like raised my aunties and uncles. So I like to say that my mom didn't have parents. She had the spirits, and it shows. Oh my God, it shows. Sometimes she would just be out in this world or whatever, and I'm like worried, and then and I'm thinking, you know, myself, like maybe we got to do this, maybe we don't got to do nothing, okay? We don't got to do nothing. I have never met somebody like my mom. She is the embodiment of you ain't got to worry about nothing.
I love that.
No, she could be falling apart right now. Not to say her life has been super easy, smooth sailing, because she's still a human. We live on an earth where difficulty happens. But she has there's always a safety net for this woman. Oh my God. So she's never worried. I just be like, frustrated to no end. She just don't be worried. So I have been learning, especially lately, because I quit my job a couple months ago. I to do this full time. It was time to commit because, you know, we were a little disorganized. It was time to get on our stuff. And sometimes I'd be worried or whatever. There is no reason to worry. I've never been so well cared for until when I was committed to my path. Oh my gosh. My boyfriend looks at me now and he's just like, oh, wow, maybe you should have done this before. And I just like, what?
You really can't, like, you can't afford worry. You can't afford to not believe. Like, spirit always provides. And my folks, I'm clear. Like, I'm your mom at this point. Like, I go to my altar and I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to be. I don't know what the lesson is, but I trust to no end that if you brought it to me, that you're going to handle it. So know that I'm frustrated today, but thank you for your guidance and your protection. I'm going to sleep because y'all pissed me off.
Yeah. That's the experience factor, I think. No matter how spiritual you are, you know, sometimes the human can get in the way. So it is so once you learn to like just be in the moment with spirit and everything, as when things go down, let me tell you. So this has been a wonderful hour. 2 hours.